Hello folks and welcome to the show. My name is Asa Morris and this is Weird Week. Thank you so much for joining us, whether again or for the first time. We are going to try something just a little bit new this week. I'm not going to hit you with any of the business right up front, so let's just jump right into it because folks, these days, there is no shortage of footage of weird shit floating around in the sky. But Sunday, in particular, seemed to have quite the abundance of it. So much so that, well, here we are doing a whole segment on it. First, there was this sighting of an interesting pulsing light out in Melbourne, Australia. I don't know, maybe it was a drone? And then we have this sighting in London, also a pulsating light. It is a little hard to spot at first. Then we had this pulsing light in Jacksonville, Florida.
What? How? I don't understand what is going on.
And this object spotted directly above JFK Airport. And finally, this video shot in Mississauga, Canada, showing an object that looks an awful lot like the California jetpack guy.
Wait.
Gabe, I'm freaking out, yo.
The fuck? What is that?
Hold on. Let me get out the car. I can't see, yo. Let me get out the car for a second.
I'm not saying all of these, or even any of them, are anything fantastic, but this is only a portion of the videos that popped up on Sunday. So eyes up, people. On Monday, a video popped up that, from what I could gather, was about a year or two old, but it was new to me, showing a strange red cloud in the sky.
I don't know what this is. Something going on up in the sky. Like red clouds. Oh. Behind all the other clouds.
Most likely, this is just a rare but natural weather phenomenon, potentially a form of a fire rainbow, seen here. But either way, a strange and beautiful sight. And speaking of cool light-related news, according to the debrief.com, scientists convert light into matter and antimatter, new study confirmed. A team of scientists working at the Relativistic Heavy Ion Collider, RHIC, a U.S. Department of Energy Office of Science facility, have reversed that process of turning matter into energy, like setting a fire, thereby turning light into matter and its counterpart antimatter, an all-in-one, admittedly complicated step. Though the results of the experiment have been confirmed independently, the researchers warned that this type of process can present a false signal, meaning they would have to analyze the distribution patterns of each electron relative to its partner proton just to make sure what they were seeing was real. And apparently they were. Are we that much closer to food replicators? Maybe. According to the Black Vault, in an article released on Monday, on Tuesday, the current head of NASA and seeming UAP enthusiast Bill Nelson was to hold a classified meeting with the Pentagon. Bill Nelson is a professional. Obviously, he's not going to go blabbing away, so nothing has leaked from that meeting and most likely won't. However, I am curious to know how this may differ from the meetings we learned about before Nelson's time at NASA, or if this is just a continuation of that. Bill, if you're watching this, feel free to slip a little hint. LowStrangeness. gmail.com. So last week we talked a little bit about Anjali Angaya, and her mission to go into the Mojave to an alien base with a hand-selected team to hold some sort of meeting. Well, on Wednesday, Anjali held a sort of press conference in Washington, D.C., not like in a hotel or a hall or a room of any sort, just on the grounds somewhere in D.C., in front of a small handful of people. Anyway, here's some of that.
I attended graduate school at South Dakota State University in the Department of Rural Sociology, where I was pursuing my master's degree. At that time, during my coursework, I was recruited by the Defense Intelligence Agency to come to Washington, D.C. and be an intelligence officer. I was trained in information operations and information warfare, in human factors analysis. All right, so moving on. On January 21st, 2018, it was a Sunday, I was sitting in a coffee shop in Southern California. I met two amazing people whom I have always referred to as Wayne and Trisha. When I first came forward and when I was first began giving interviews in March, April, May, I had not had any contact with them for some time. I knew that Wayne was living, and that was about all I knew. And then at the exact perfect timing, we reconnected. Wayne approached me, and after some time, we had gotten into a very in-depth conversation about consciousness of all things. After some time, he and his wife, Trisha, invited me to their home because he had excavated a tunnel into the side of the mountain that is his property after he had met what he called aliens. He said he had seen them. He had seen their craft up in the sky above his mountain many nights, and he had become obsessed with finding out more. And he said that he had gone on top of his mountain and that they had been there. After a few minutes of walking into this nicely excavated tunnel, I just have to say that, there was a light ahead of us. And we began walking a little bit quicker. And when we rounded the corner, there were two different races of beings that were standing there. There was a gray, I do not believe that he is organic in the way that we understand. Also, not a drone in the way that we understand. There were also several other beings that were what we typically, now I understand, call in this community, the phenomena community. They were all well over 6, approaching probably 6.5, maybe a little bit taller. Very tall. They would stand out in this crowd. We would all notice.
The whole goddamn thing is tedious. I watched it for you, and honestly, there is nothing in this press conference that you won't see on some leftover late 90s Angel Fire UFO cult page. That might seem insensitive, but trust me. In fact, I considered not covering this at all, but it caused some conversation online, so here we are. However, unless something worthwhile comes out of this whole thing, if the trip actually happens and we actually hear back from somebody who's even remotely credible, I'm not going to be covering this in the future. But also, on Wednesday, this horrifying little number popped up. Tiny human brain grown in lab has eye-like structures that see light. No, stop that. All right, I'm going to be real quick, but before we continue on, I just want to say if you are enjoying what we are doing here and maybe want to help support the channel, please do the big 5, like, bell, sub, comment, share. Oh, first take. And also hit up the link tree in the description for all the links to all the things, the merch, the socials, the podcast, and of course, the Patreon. All help helps. Thank you, and now back to the show. On Thursday, an article caught my attention and the attention of multitudes of subreddits. Engineer, his wife, their 1-year-old daughter, and dog are all found dead in remote California hiking region. Search teams on Tuesday discovered the lifeless bodies of all 3 victims, identified as John Garish, a British-born software developer for Snap, his wife Ellen Chung, and their 1-year-old daughter Muji, near an area known as Devil's Gulch in the South Fork of the Merced River, the Mariposa County Sheriff's Office said. There was no clear cause of death, so authorities have not ruled out possible carbon monoxide or other toxic gas, as the area they were found in sits atop a number of former gold mines. The possibility was also raised of toxic algae in the area, though there is currently no evidence to support any of these claims, as toxicology results generally take well over a month to acquire, and the initial autopsy displayed no clear results. However, the thing that caught the M411 community's attention was not that this was just a mysterious death in the woods, or collection of deaths in the woods, but that it took place in an area known as Devil's Gulch. According to David Pilates' Missing 411 theories, places named Devil or Devils often have higher than normal rates of mysterious disappearances or death rates. The validity of that claim, however, is constantly argued. On Friday, Vice ran an article that caught my attention because the words you choose to use matter. More Americans now correctly believe UFOs could be alien craft from outer space. Now, the intention presented in the article is to say that more Americans are comfortable and accepting of the idea that UFOs or UAPs are not only real, but also have a non-human origin, which, if we are listening to any of the alleged whistleblowers and leakers, we already knew this, though there is still a large amount of suspicion and debate, and rightly so, which the article also briefly discusses in consideration of the US government's long history of disinformation. However, my very small bone to pick is that the headline states Americans correctly believe. There is no correct answer right now. There are possibilities, and there are some possibilities more likely than others, but no one, outside of those well above our pay grades, has the whole story. And to further muddy the waters, if we are indeed listening to the alleged whistleblowers and leakers, these are not craft from outer space. Much of the information discussed to this point seems to heavily allude to a terrestrial presence, if not some form of interdimensional presence. I understand that that is a fucking horse pill to swallow for most people, and again, none of us really have the information, but folks like Lou Elizondo, who seems to be the popular candidate for guy in charge, have really been hinting heavily that these things are not from outer space. Listen, it's possible and likely that all of this is misinformation, purposefully. I think it would be as good of an idea for the believers to really come to terms with that possibility as it would be for the skeptics to come to the possibility that these are, pick a theory. But either way, Vice, as far as we know, there is no correct. On Saturday, a friend of mine, who is no stranger to odd shit, and has sent me other really curious material in the past, sent me a video of what seems to be a semi-transparent woman in a long dress walking through a field. However, apparently this woman was not seen by the naked eye. Now, it may be a little hard to make out. I only screen captured this video at the very last minute before going into production on this episode, but here is a slightly slowed down and zoomed in version of the video with a tiny little indicator. The question obviously comes up, why were they filming? Well, as it was explained to me, the fiance of my friend occasionally likes to have my friend just film things as they drive. This also led to an interesting video of a potentially headless girl walking down the road about a year and a half ago. That video is available somewhere on this channel. It was noted that it appeared in the video, to my friend and her fiance anyway, that the form seemed to take on the appearance of something less than human or animal for a few seconds. Afterward, as they were discussing this, a deer suddenly appeared in front of their car as they were driving through a small town. I'm not saying it's related, certainly weird though. It's nice to have a little odd ghost content that isn't just all orbs and dust and ring cams. Alright, there was not much this week, or maybe I just wasn't really in the mood to entertain this sort of thing. Either one is possible. But here's a little, I don't know, thing from over at our Skinwalkers, from a post by user 321bean123, who asks, is this a skinwalker, or just a weird-ass dog? I had to find something. Anyway, that's our week. If you see something throughout the week that you would like me to take a look at, either for this show or the podcast, hit us up on any of the socials or directly at lowstrangeness@gmail.com. If you would like more in-depth discussion on various reports or aspects of the phenomena, make sure you check out the podcast, LowStrangeness. It's available anywhere that podcasts are, or you can just find the RSS feed in the link tree. Oh, the link tree. It's in the show description. Make sure you hit it up for all the links to all the things, the merch, the socials, the podcast, and of course, the Patreon. Also, while you're clicking on things I throw at you, make sure you check out my friends, the Graveyard Goons. Fantastic live prank call shows with a spooky twist. I always intend to watch their streams for like 10 minutes between my other 600 projects, but I pretty much always just end up watching the whole goddamn shebang. Every time. Anyway, once again, I am Asa Morris. Thank you so much for joining us here on Weird Week, whether again or for the first time. Don't forget to like, bell, comment, sub, share. 2 in 1 show. And of course, take care of yourselves and the people around you. And I'll see you next week, when obviously I'm going to say, the joke is that I don't ever actually say it.